Today's date is April 18th of 2018. The time is 9:44 a.m. This is a continuation deposition of Dr. Ruggero M. Santilli in the case of Ruggero Santilli versus Pepijn van Erp. Swearing the witness, please.
Doctor, if you would raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Dr. Santilli, good morning. As you know from our previous meetings, my name is James Lake, or please feel free to call me Jim Lake. I'm a lawyer for, in this case, for Pepijn van Erp and Frank Israel. And as you know, this is a continuation of your deposition from 2 days ago, and the requests I made at that deposition apply here as well. If a statement if a question I ask is unclear or confusing, please let me know, and I will be happy to try to clarify it. And if you would, as I can see you're doing, wait until I finish asking a question before you answer, so that Annie is able to take down a complete record of the question and the answer. Okay?
You can be sure that I will follow those rules. If not, you just remind me. I'll say thank you.
Thank you.
I will do my best. I always let everybody speak first. I have I need a few minutes of an introductory statement, because there were some of the comments are suggestions for you, Attorney Fine. Because it's important to identify why we are here. Okay. I think in the interest of everybody.
Sure, that's fine. I did want to tell you, I think I'm hearing a different name when you're referring to me. My name is Lake, L-A-K-E.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm typically, it's not intended to be offensive.
It's no offense taken.
Because my mind is, I'm a scientist with the equations, typical absent mind. Mr. Lake, I apologize. It's
no problem at all.
Okay, so I have three very short suggestions. Does not request. The suggestions are essentially intended in your interest, believe it or not, because I believe that the interest of all attorneys is in the interest of the truth. And now, the suggestion number one is the following: that I have to report to you that in the view of a number of sources, remember there were two publicly traded companies that have been damaged by a number of slanderous statements by the defendant. According to a number of stockholders, they do not recognize you as the attorney of Mr. Israel and Mr. Van Erp. The reason being because you are not paid. Apparently, you are not paid. In their view, they are not paid by them, but you are paid by organized American interest. There are also additional rumors around. Additional rumors around that. I don't want to make, I'm not in a position to disclose everything, but what I would like to suggest in your interest is that you should disclose the origin of your funds. You will see this very soon to become very much in your interest to avoid that you as an attorney be implicated on something very, very serious going on against America. Suggestion number two, you have personally used and adopted and allowed in any case, and therefore made yourself an accusation of the Thunder Energy Corporation has perpetrated fraud in selling prototypes, optical prototypes of a basically new instrument at the same cost of because those prototypes of brand new optical instrument are not sold at the same cost at the same cost of Galileo telescope that are producing tens of thousands of dollars. You should know the following: that just my salary alone working at those prototypes, we are talking about over the years of about $500,000 for my salary alone, let alone the design, construction, test of a prototype. So to make a long story short, this is as an opening statement, as the Torah say, I want to offer you an olive branch. My suggestion is not a request, and my suggestion is that you should withdraw immediately the statement of fraud in that notice by the lady from the University of South Florida, because people will consider you an associate no longer. That's why they don't recognize you as an attorney of the defendants, but an associate of the defendant. Because also you should know this is not my words, but again, this to offer you an olive branch. I received, you have no idea what's going on out there, because lots of people have lost lots of money. They have blood in their mouth. Those are thousands of stockholders of 2 publicly traded companies. So I received more than one call from stockholders claiming, this is their claim, that you have violated, grossly violated the ethical rule of the Bar Association. I tried to defend you to my best. I said this is not an official statement, an official notice as yet. I tried to do my best to moderate. I don't want a side fight because they're only damage to the essence. But again, this is a suggestion, not a request. You should remove it immediately. And Attorney Parish, we will agree to the removal of the fraud at the end, leaving everything else because total nonsense, very easily demolished with the jury. But on one condition, however, on one condition that we have to see the change. In other words, if we don't like the change, then I'm acting as the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Thunder Energy Corporation. I've been requested. I'm acting under order as a Chief Executive to maintain that notice as is. Because as is, then in their view, they can attack personally the attorney. Fine, but that's exactly what I would like to avoid. Because I don't want the attorney to enter into those twists. So you have my full cooperation to avoid the side aspect that I consider total nonsense and waste of time, and they should be completely. You are paid to do a service that I respect, and I don't want people to attack you. But you have to understand that what those people have done is too bad, and so if there is anywhere they can attack, they will. Anywhere, not me. No, I am a scientist. I don't have the time for all this. Okay, let's go to the substance. It is my duty and my recommendation to review why this lawsuit, and start to see the implication that Attorney Parish, perhaps not even you, perhaps during this deposition you will be aware for the first time. Incidentally, Attorney Parish, I need your assistance to number those. I had a marker, but then I lost it.
Dr. Santilli, let me suggest this. Mr. Parrish will have the opportunity to work with you to mark any exhibits you would like and to ask you any questions you would like. But the way depositions work, as you've seen in your experience in litigation, the lawyer who requested the deposition asks questions first, and then the lawyer for the witness asks questions. So I would request, I obviously allowed and appreciate your opening statement, and we'll take into account everything you said. But I would like to go ahead and move into the questions I have for today, and then excuse me, Dr. Santilli, if I may finish.
Sure. I'm sorry, apologize.
I would like to move into the questions that I have prepared, and then as the court rules provide, Mr. Parrish and you will have the right for him to ask questions and to mark any exhibits that you would like. I will have no objection to that. But I do have some questions that under the rules I believe I'm entitled to ask first and to get answers to.
Well, I understood this fully, but it is my opinion, I want to be on record, that this implies distortion of what the main objectives of these lawsuits are, and therefore they have implication as for the applicability and the value of the questions that Attorney Lake will ask. So while I do not have the authority, but I think you are damaging yourself, that's all. We have 7 hours, so you have plenty of time. So if there was no time, your abuse of your authority will be respected. But since there's plenty of time, so this will imply a distortion. The lack of a couple of minutes of presentation of those documents, they imply a total lack of perspective of the entire. So I want to be on record for that. You make a decision.
Okay.
You want to go ahead, or you want to give me a couple of minutes to present documents? Is your call.
I would prefer to.
Then I was wrong in offering you the olive branch. I was wrong.
Excuse me if I could finish. I would prefer to proceed with the questions that I have.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
And then.
Please go ahead. Let's not waste other time.
And then you will have as much time as you and Mr. Parrish would like to put on additional testimony or evidence. I have no objection.
Plenty of time at the jury trial. Plenty of time. We intend to go to the jury trial. Go
okay.
ahead.
Very good. Dr. Santilli, when we spoke last, you mentioned Mr. Tadson, And you know Scott Tadson, correct?
Yes, I know.
Okay. And I think you have spoken to him a little about his deposition, correct?
I don't have the time. I never met him after that.
Oh, okay. But I thought you indicated you'd heard something about that he did a great job with his testimony.
I heard.
Okay.
I didn't have time. I was been so busy. I did not have time to talk to him.
All right. Well, fair enough.
I heard some of them, but my wife reported to me. But
okay, fair enough. In any event, what I would like to ask you about is something he brought up last week. He actually brought an excerpt of a St. Petersburg Times article, and then I provided him and have provided Mr. Parrish a complete copy of the article. And I just would like to ask you a couple questions about that. I have, although it's been marked, because it's been marked, I'm not going to ask Annie to mark it again, but it's Exhibit V11, and Joe, I do have a copy handy if that would be helpful.
I think I have it.
Okay, either way, I've got it right here.
All right. Yeah, if you have it, that's fine.
Sure.
It'll make it easier than me
It's
searching
not
through
marked
it.
V11, but it's V11.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, sure. Dr. Santilli, do you recall the St. Petersburg Times writing a story about you in 2007?
as I said, I had problems in reading, and but I have to ask somebody to read it to me.
Do you want me to just, I'll read you the heading, but this is St. Pete's Times.
The author, I have many articles and
Sure.
all over the world. So
This was Carrie Weimer,
yes, that's
and
it.
it was
I
May
remember
9th of
definitely
2007.
the way I understand.
Okay, so you remember this article?
Yes, I remember the article.
Okay,
And you can hold it.
okay.
Dr. Santilli, two things. Let's make sure that as the three of us are talking, we pause so that Annie can get it down. She was having a little trouble, I think, shifting among speakers.
At your disposal, please, Senior.
And then, I don't know if this would be any help, but I did bring a magnifying glass. If that would be of any help to you, you're welcome to it.
We'll not
Okay.
do it.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. The headline in the St. Petersburg Times article that Mr. Tadson told us about is "Snubbed by Mainstream, Scrappy Scientists Sues." Would you agree that you've been snubbed by some mainstream scientists?
The word snob is a misname, certainly. You don't treat the senior scientists, me with my qualification, with this type of terminology. Those are terminology that don't use it by gangsters, scientific gangsters,
Okay.
to achieve certain objectives in science. That's the way sorry, I apologize. That's the way nowadays, unfortunately, science is conducted by slander and defamation.
Okay.
And,
would you agree that you've been disrespected by mainstream scientists?
Not by all of them. Some of my best supporters are in Israel, from Tel Aviv University. I could mention names of some of the top. I've been invited. My last speech was in China at an international conference in China, invited by 3 Nobel Prize to deliver an opening statement, to deliver a plenary talk jointly with them. I could make a long list of. Those are a minority, an extremely small minority of very vociferous and dishonest. They are gangsters, of which Israel is one of a representative, but is a web much. That's why you did not allow me to make this introduction. Attorney Parrish, I want to be on record that this is the first evidence that Mr. Lake has manipulated, by preventing me to make a couple of minutes of statement, has manipulated the very essence of this lawsuit.
Dr. Santilli, if you could please, I have asked you a yes or no question, and you've gone on for quite some time. If you could try to answer yes or no questions, and again, anything you want to say about that document or anything else, you and Mr. Parrish will have the opportunity to present, okay? So some mainstream scientists have disrespected you, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Minority, small minority.
Okay. The St. Petersburg Times article begins, the article itself begins with the words, "Ruggero Santilli is frustrated." Is it frustrating to you that you're disrespected by some mainstream scientists?
No.
Okay.
Napoleon said, many enemies, many honor.
The next paragraph says, after a long career as an academic, the Palm Harbor physicist says he isn't getting the respect he deserves. Is that true, that you aren't getting the respect you deserve?
Not true. I just mentioned it's totally false.
Okay.
Just mentioned at this moment I have a big honor in Europe that I have to receive. Similarly, first of all, I've been knighted by the with the title of Sir by the Republic of San Marino. It's a membership of the millenary Equestrian Order of Sant'Agata. I have another similar, very high prize in Italy. I have 2 invitations to be the keynote speaker. One with 5 Nobel Prizes, etc. I cannot mention those because those what I call gangsters that you are paying. I'm referring to the American gangsters.
Okay.
Not
So
not the Netherlands, the gangster. I should say correction. Scientific gangster. Those are called scientific gangster. Gangster, it's in his name. No, they're talking about misconduct in science.
So there are this. You say it's a minority of scientists who don't give you the respect you deserve. Correct.
Yes, they're called also Einstein fanatics because
Yes.
I surpassed Einstein theory at the mathematical, physical, and experimental level, not under the condition stated by Einstein that I respected, which Einstein has been verified 10,000 times, but for new conditions needed for American technology.
So the
I
Einstein.
object to the form of the last question. Okay. Go ahead.
So the Einstein fanatics aren't giving you the respect you deserve. Correct.
Objective form.
Okay. Let me ask you just one other question about the article, and then we'll move on. This is, and Joe, in case you want to look at it, I'm referring to the third paragraph from the bottom. So this is on the back of V11. It's a quotation. The reporter is quoting you, Dr. Santilli, and she reports that you said, "You call the famous professor, and the famous professor will say, 'Oh, Professor Santilli is a weirdo. His science is not accepted by the establishment.'" End quotation. Santilli said. Quotation continues, "The news media is subservient to the scientific authority." Close quotation. You don't disagree that you said those words to the St. Petersburg Times
I
Reporter, do you?
confirm I am the author of those words. Yes, Einstein was called a crackpot. Was called with the most unbelievable names. That's typically the case for any basically new discovery. At the beginning, that's the way the establishment responds. So it's a perfectly normal response of the establishment. But the point is to have the difference where it becomes. That's why we are in court. We are in court because one thing is to criticize technically. That's necessary. It's part of the process. And another thing is use slander and defamation to oppose undesired research.
Okay, thank you. Those are the only questions I had about that article.
I have a comment to add on this article, which is necessary. This article has been mandated, but there we enter into your situation personally, Attorney Fine. There are rumors that you are paid by people affiliated to Arthur Rubin, David Epstein, Mark Bernstein. Those are called the evident reality. They are the controllers of my article, so-called article at Wikipedia. It's an article that is very slanderous, only listing things against me. For instance, they accepted an illiterate person such as Pepijn, yes, is quoted. And all the Nobel Prize they invited me, everything in my file is suppressed. So my stockholders have collected evidence that will eventually appear in court that this lady here was commissioned by Arthur Rubin, David Epstein, and Mark Bernstein in support of their denigratory article on me. And the evidence which apparently, I'm told, is being collected by investigative agency is that you are paid by Arthur Rubin, David Epstein, and Mark Bernstein, apparently, through a manipulation of public record. That's what I'm told. I cannot. I will be able to make a final statement after I see the report of the investigative agencies, and because we are talking about a very, very serious organization, anti-American organization, controlling the advancement of scientific knowledge in the United States of America.
Dr. Santilli, I'd like to ask you about another document now.
This, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Back?
It can be removed now. Thank you. Do you recall on Tuesday we discussed some life threats that had been made against you, I believe, when you were at Harvard. Do you recall that discussion?
I don't recall we discussed it the other day, but however, I confirm that I have received the life threats that have been documented.
Yes, okay. Yes, and I just want to ask you
Yes,
some
of
questions
course.
about an article about those life threats, if you
Yes,
may.
they were not by me. They've been documented. One of them, there is even, I'm told that even on the website on the lawsuit, there is one of them reports documents on this life threat. One of them was an eyewitness, a non-eyewitness, when I was at the Institute for Basic Research at Harvard. His deposition is in the hands of an attorney in Europe. In the event, everything is ready in the event I am assassinated. I should say that this look to you people looks like far-fetched, ladies and gentlemen. You have no idea what's going on in science. Let me mention the case of my former colleague at Harvard, Alton Harp, who discovered, his astrophysicist, discovered conditions that could not be represented by Einstein theory in the sky, the so-called Harp pair, quasar, and associated galaxies. I was there, and he was approached by Coleman, Sidney Coleman, Irving Shapiro, and others. They requested strongly to denounce his paper published in the Astrophysics Journal. He refused so, and the rest of his life has been a misery. He had to run away. But he survived because he left. America. And apparently renounced even the American citizenship because the collapse of ethics in the United States. He was a recipient of a large grant, but he was unable to get a job in America. He was prohibited access to an astrophysics laboratory all over the world. There is a book by Professor Danny Davis.
Dr. Santilli, could we move on, please? Again, you've answered the question.
No, there's another for the assassination, because I'm on the track of assassination. There's another case, yes, this thing has to be in record. Otherwise, I may leave it.
Dr. Santilli,
just a few seconds.
Let me respond on that point. You stood up at least twice on Tuesday and acted as if you were going to leave. You understand that a deposition is a court proceeding, and that as defendants you have sued, Mr. Venner and Dr. Israel have the right to take your testimony. This is not a courtesy you are extending. This is a court proceeding. So I would appreciate it if you would refrain from these threats to leave. This is a court proceeding, and we need to follow the court rules. If you don't want to pursue this case, that's your decision. But having elected to do so, you need to participate in the deposition and comply with the court rules. Okay?
Yes, but however, that I have the right to complete my answer.
And you will have the opportunity to put on any evidence you like at the appropriate time.
But you asked me a question. If you cut me, I do not know. I need an attorney Parish. Is it according to the rules that the attorney that taking my deposition prohibits me? That's what the case. He has prohibited me to complete my answer. Is this appropriate, or let's go in front of the judge? Let's the judge decide, not you.
I believe you have answered my question and are now talking about other incidents involving other people.
Can I please complete my statement?
I will allow you to answer my questions. I cannot allow you to continue to talk about other issues.
To complete. You made a request. You see, I already have completed. In all this time that you are wasted, you have an intention. You want to manipulate my answer.
No, I want to get your answers to my questions.
I want this on record. Attorney Lake, by prohibiting me to complete my answer, he intends to manipulate my answer in favor of what is known as an organized scientific crime that he represents against the interest of the United States of America, which is the very reason for this lawsuit. Would you allow me to complete my clarification or not?
I will allow you to complete your clarification, but again, please try to find your answers to the question that's asked and not talk about other subjects.
We're talking about an assassination. I made one case of one colleague of me at Harvard. I was say another colleague because I have to insist this is a crucial point, Attorney Parish. Because what they say, oh, Santilli is crazy, thinks about assassination, he is on the threat of life. But people don't know the evidence because this information has been suppressed. Those people control the news media. My other colleague at Harvard, Eugene Mallow, scientist, magnificent scientist, he left MIT, when this was my colleague when I was at MIT. He left MIT in disgust because he saw at MIT a counter experiment, another experiments that disproved, that showed the limitation of Einstein theory. Physicists at MIT manipulated that experiment for the intent of disproving. He left MIT in disgust, and he organized his own magazine. I think the name of the magazine was Infinite Energy, and used this magazine to attack what appears to be an extreme organized dishonesty at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, Eugene Mallow was assassinated and murdered in very mysterious circumstances after receiving many life threats. He was eventually assassinated while visiting one of his houses somewhere else. After years, 4 or 5 years, the FBI caught one person that was prosecuted and eventually convicted. The guy is in jail for a murder. He has been claiming always to be innocent. But the point is this: that what is very, very unreassuring is that all this extremely violent verbal fight between Eugene Mallow, proving the dishonesty of the physicists at MIT, never appeared at the trial. And both the judge and the prosecutor are said to be apparent members of this organization controlling virtually all of our science, all of us, if not all of our America. So conclusion, the threat of life, 3 of them so far that are documented. Others, no point I'm mentioning because I don't have documentation. There is a president of another scientist who has been assassinated. Besides, all other dissident scientists have been mistreated in an horrendous way. Mr. Lake, thank you for allowing me to make this statement. We are talking about the interest of the United States of America. That's what you are facing.
Dr. Santilli, thank you. And my question was simply about an article that I'm going to show you that I believe contains much of what you've just said. So if you would just allow me to ask questions and then answer the question that's asked, we'll be able to move through this much more quickly, okay? Let me show you and Mr. Parrish a document. We've marked Exhibit 89. Well, let me ask you a question first. This article is from the Institute for Basic Research. That's one of your organizations,
I am the
correct?
president, yes.
The president, okay, thank you. Exhibit 89, and I do have a copy as well, Joe.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I see it?
Yeah, I just want
Yeah.
Do you need me to read the title, Dr. Santilli?
The date of the title I need.
Okay. The title is Life Threats of Professor R.M. Santilli by Fanatic Jews. And then the date is August 18th, 2014.
Yes, I'm familiar about this. I have not read all of it because I have problems and it's so long. But I know the gist, the essence of this article.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, you can keep it there for a moment. I just have a couple of questions about it. Did you write this article?
No.
Who wrote the article?
I have thousands of supporters. Thousands.
Okay, so you don't recall?
No, I don't recall. I do not know.
That's fine.
No.
Okay.
But you are insidious when you say you don't recall. No.
Okay, I didn't mean anything insidious.
Well, it was insidious.
Okay. Well, I apologize if you thought that was insidious.
Well, I accept the apology.
Did you edit the article?
I'm sorry?
Did you edit the article?
I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do these things.
Okay.
I am a scientist. I am the CEO of a publicly traded company. I have the duty and chores up to here.
Dr. Santilli, you don't need to explain why. I was just asking yes or no if you edited it.
I want to explain why, give some to show the plausibility. It's not enough to say yes or no.
Okay. The article has some headings in bold. I'm not going to go through all the paragraphs and details in here. I just want to ask you about some of them. The heading number 2 at the bottom of the page talks about, I think, events you've just described in your answer a moment ago. Organized Jewish scientific crimes at Harvard University and MIT. Is that what you were talking about a moment ago with the assassination of Dr. Malov and others?
No.
Okay, tell me what that is about then.
No, we have to make a distinction. First of all, regarding the Jewish, because these are talking about the Jewish issue. we have to clarify that the great majority of the Jewish community is made up of very decent people. My son-in-law is Jewish. Just to make an example, some of my best supporters are Jewish, and happens to be in Israel. To make again, there are things that have to be said to qualify my statement. For instance, there was a congress in Jerusalem in Gravitation. It was, I don't remember when, 10 years ago, and here it is. Here it is. There you can see the organizer from Jerusalem, from Jerusalem, and they invited me to present my view on gravitation. They are beyond Einstein. Notice, they are not along Einstein, but they are beyond. I could not attend the Congress for many at the last moment. I could not attend, but they look at the way the Jewish colleagues at Ben Gurion at the institute in Jerusalem. They not only they had the chairman of the session reading my transparency. Not enough. They published the article. This to give you an illustration that indeed that is now. After saying that, in Italy we have the mafia. It doesn't mean that all Italians are mafiosi. There's somebody says it. That's exactly the same for the Jewish community. There are also a number of Jewish community that are, it is in my opinion, that they are indeed enemy of, they are so fanatics that they are called anti-Semitic Jews, but it's an extremely small minority in exactly the same way as it happens in Italy, in which there is an extremely small minority that are mafiosi. Otherwise, the idea that all the Jews are saints is so fake that certainly no people with a minimum of decency can tolerate. So now, what I refer before to organized academic, financial, and other interests, which is I indicated in my book Il Grande Grido. This includes all sorts of ethnic groups. Arabs are some of the most fanatics on Einstein. They are an ethnic group. So the organization in so-called organized scientific crime, not Jewish, the organized crime on Einstein includes virtually many different. Give you an example. Einstein theory is based on Poincaré group. Poincaré group is French. So the interest in France to maintain Einstein theories are enormous. Those are not necessarily Jewish. So while in this case, no, this document instead refers specifically and only to the misconduct of a very small minority of fully identified Jewish people identified by names that scientific misconduct under public support.
And you believe Frank Israel is one of them, correct?
You asked me this question. I do not know whether Frank Israel is Jewish or not. I do not know whether I never ask. I don't care. I never ask. However, Frank, the evidence we have apparently collected until now that he is paid by this American organization of academic interest at large, not necessarily by Jews. No, I have no evidence that he's paid by Jews. No.
Okay. Professor Malov, who you mentioned in your answer. Eugene Malov. Thank you for the help on the pronunciation. Eugene Malov, who you mentioned. You sued him at one point, correct?
Well, because because of an historical point that is correct. Because
and if I might just ask you a question about that. You sued him and said he was complicit in scientific plagiarisms, frauds, and deceptions against plaintiff in the articles at Infinite Energy you talked about, correct?
Yeah, but this is nothing to do with Eugene Malov attack to the misconduct at MIT.
Okay.
It is true that I saw him.
Okay.
Because of question of ethics in science.
Okay.
He published something erroneously by ignoring his historical paternity. I asked him repeatedly to make corrections in his magazine, and that since he denied to make correction, I saw him.
Okay. And you lost that lawsuit, didn't you?
No. As a matter of fact, the lawsuit was also against Cornell University for plagiarism, and for plagiarism, and then I withdrew the lawsuit because I had achieved my primary objective. I sue primarily to have on record my case, not because I want to sue the case to win. You don't, Attorney Lake, you know. When you sue, you don't sue because you want to win. Forget about it. Maybe yes, maybe no.
Let me show you a document that we've marked Exhibit 90. I believe this is one of the complaint in the case we're talking about. I have a copy, Mr. Parrish. We marked it V90.
Carlo, could you please but she can recognize it right away what it is.
Yes, this, Dr. Santilli, this is you as the plaintiff, and then there are some defendants, Elio Conte, Maria Pierlis. Do you recognize this as
Yes.
the part of the lawsuit?
It's
And that's the complaint for that lawsuit.
Yes, it is an historical scientific case that those people, unfortunately including Malot, they refused to recognize the paternity of a priest, an Italian priest and scientist, Don Carlo Borghi. And since it was as the originator of the studies on the synthesis of the neutron, they refused to quote his work, and I sued them. Period. I am committed to science.
Sure. And as I think you mentioned there, you asked the court to compel the defendants, in that case, to publish a corrective statement, correct?
That is correct. Precisely why I sued, because Eugene Malov, as editor, refused repeatedly to file this, even on mild language, and that was it.
Okay.
And I did not intend to compromise. No, not on an issue of scientific ethics.
I think I have a copy of the motion asking for that corrective statement, V91.
Dr. Santilli, this is again your, it shows in the Middle District of Florida, Ruggero Maria Santilli
My
versus
motion.
Malov.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you, it's my motion, yes, my motion, I recognize. So can we move ahead? If you are apparently pressed, because I see you have many questions.
Yes.
Yes, it's my, how can I possibly deny it?
You can keep the exhibits in front of you. Thank you.
Okay. No, I don't. Incidentally, after the lawsuit, Eugene Malov did publish a correction. And that's why I stopped the prosecution. And then there was Cornell University. That was another reason. The Cornell University made correction. I stopped the lawsuit against them.
Okay. And here is the court's order denying the motion, correct?
That's okay. This is no point in... you are wasting time.
Is that the court's order denying the motion?
But why you asking me the document that is an official document? This is we are wasting time. Attorney Parrish, I don't like what's going on. This is obvious something on record. Why do I have to say yes or no?
Dr. Santilli, he's just trying to establish at this point
It is
whether or not
incontrovertible truth. It's a motion of a federal court. Period.
Okay.
There is a question. What he wants to trick me, saying that no, it's not a motion. He wants to trick me and something. I don't see the situation clear to the satisfaction of my standard of ethics.
I understand, Dr. Santilli. Remember that before the deposition I explained to you that he has some latitude.
But the point, he wants to indulge in all those things which are obvious, and he has prohibited me to make introductory statement.
But we'll get to that soon.
But in a way, then we lose the perspective. Let's not waste time. Let's keep going.
Okay.
I have accepted. I have no reason. I will make my judgment later on.
Okay.
Am I going, please, senior, if I'm going to slow down. I apologize. But the emotion are big. So.
Dr. Santilli, I'd like to play a video for you. I'm going to play it on my monitor. So if you could tell me what's the best position to place the monitor, I want to make sure you can see it as well as possible. Would you like this very close to you?
No, that's okay. No, but far away the better.
Far away the better? Okay.
Yes, macular degeneration, just the macular.
Okay.
The rest is okay.
Jim, just before you start that, could
Sure.
I get a copy of V92, Exhibit V92?
Yes, thank you.
Incidentally, I see no connection whatsoever between the lawsuit I filed against Eugene Malov and the lawsuit against the slander or vulgar slander by Israel and Pepijn. There is no connection whatsoever.
Okay. I'm going to press play on this, and then again, if I need to move it so that you can see it better, just let me know.
Tell me what what the video is, I will recognize.
This is a video from Thunder Energies, and,
Yes.
and it may take me a moment to get it started, but if you have trouble seeing it, just let me know and I'll rewind
If it is from Thunder Energy, I am the CEO, I authorize it, period.
Okay, very good.
And Mr. Lake, just for the record,
Sure.
is there a Bates number associated with this video?
Yes, the first one is going to be 419, V419. And I'm going to enlarge it and rewind it. I know that's too small. There we go. Can you see that now?
A new ITE was captured on camera April 6th.
Yes, I remember, yes. Yes, I do.
Let's go ahead and watch it, please, and then I'll ask
No, I
you some-
remember. You want to waste time? No, no, I object watching it because I know it.
This photo was taken from a balcony
What do you want to...
hotel in Tallahassee, Florida. Here is the view of that same building taken with the
Why
camera
why
and
do
the
we have to watch it all?
telescope with concave
He wants to ask you questions and make sure that
Go
you
ahead.
understand.
Right. But I recognize it. I authorize that as CEO of the company, I authorize it,
because
indeed.
they were
Yes.
only present in the
Yes.
Santilli telescope, and they produced their own light, as can be seen by adjusting the contrast of the photo. This is a picture from the same location at approximately 2 a.m. in the morning, showing that the ITE had gone away. For more information on invisible terrestrial entities, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay. Thank you for going ahead and telling me that you authorized the video. Were you present when the video was recorded, or when the images that we see there were recorded in Tallahassee?
No, but that's I don't remember because we had so many things that I honestly I don't remember. But I know that we have many of those views from many of those views from customers, not customers because we had very few customers. The telescope are not for sale. But we have a number of telescopes out there that have been authorized for use and comments, and I have now a very authoritative.
Dr. Santilli, before you turn to that, let me ask you some questions about
Please
the video.
go ahead.
The particular location that was shown there in Tallahassee, who recorded those images?
To my understanding, I think it's stated there. It is also jointly to this there is a news release. They jointly and they stated that it's from a motel and from inside the room facing. So they had the way I remember was reported to me. They had rented this room and they had a telescope inside the room, and the window was open. And what they see that the Tallahassee IRS office. And those are the telescopes are dual, Galileo and Santilli, identical, parallel. And the Galileo, they will only see the word, the Internal Revenue Service. While on the Santilli they see nothing, they saw dust. The word did not appear, and that's what they see. Since they see this, since it's a question of national security.
Okay.
I have to finish the sentence, please.
Okay, I
If you
thought
don't
you
want
had
that
finished.
I interrupt you, don't interrupt me, please, for seconds.
Okay.
So since we are talking about the question of national security, the surveillance of a federal building, it was my duty as the CEO of Thunder Energy to release it so that others can inspect. I should indicate that to complete the sentence, I should indicate that by contrast, Israel and Pepijn are strongly in support of the search of dark energy and dark matter because they are compatible with Einstein, but it costs hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are known to be fake theory.
So when you received the images that were captured in Tallahassee, you concluded that they showed invisible terrestrial entities, is that correct?
According to the definition, yes, they are entities. We don't know what they are.
Okay.
They are only visible in our telescope and not visible in the Galileo telescope, and therefore, since we are talking governmental building, have to be investigated. Attorney Parish, I insist on this, to put in on part on this. This is a certification by an extremely qualified, independent eyewitness. His name is Kyle Workman. Kyle Workman is the president of the St. Petersburg Astronomical Society, who had our telescope in consignment, because our telescopes are not for sale, except for a very astrophysicist laboratory who wants to keep it forever. So, and he did extensive investigation on our telescope, and particularly for the search of the invisible terrestrial entity. And this is his presentation, not mine. His presentation, and he concluded indeed, he reports everything, he concluded indeed that he had detected object were surveilling, at least they were moving, they were only visible. Look at this, is moving in direction and in space. Those are his picture, not mine, moving in all directions, and even to the rest, you see the rest of those dots are impurity of the lens. So it clearly shows that this object is moving with respect to the impurities.
And
although you didn't finish Attorney Lake, you want me to respect? I have to finish my statement.
I thought you've been speaking for quite a while. I thought you were finished. Please continue.
Please. Otherwise, I will interrupt you, and then we'll end up in a mess. Because I have a mirror personality. I treat people the way they treat me. You have seen it in this lawsuit.
You do not turn the other cheek, correct?
Never. So I want this Attorney Parish, I want you one copy to you and one copy to him. I have an addition.
Dr. Santilli, hold on just a second. I object to the form of the last question by Mr. Lake. Okay. So, Dr. Santilli, let me just let you know how the procedure goes. We can't introduce this into evidence right now unless Mr. Lake wants to introduce it into evidence. But we can go back when it's time for me to ask you questions. We can go back and introduce it into evidence at that point.
Please do so, because in that respect I have another smashing, this extremely disqualifying.
Okay.
So okay. I will wait for your question.
Okay, that's fine.
Good enough.
Actually, you know what, Joe, I don't object to marking that now because I would like to ask a question about it.
Okay.
Then one copy to you first.
Do you have extra copies of this, or just do you have just
two copies?
Copy?
No, I made two copies of everything.
Okay.
This is for Attorney Lake.
Okay. So this is being marked as Exhibit V93, if I'm correct?
Correct.
Please qualify the expert, because he is an astronomer. Okay. He knows. I want to look here. Those are our pair of telescopes. Those are ours, but the observatory is his. He has an observatory. Disqualify how qualified the guy is. He's a real professional. He knows how to focus. He describes the entire process of focusing. Extremely professional. He shows the picture, Galileo and Santilli, and then he shows how he did extremely professional qualification.
Dr. Santilli, may I ask you a question about the last?
No, that's our copy. He has. Or either way.
Yeah, if you would just look at the last page, the photos you were describing, I just have a question about those.
Sure.
I know you were not present when these photos were taken by Mr. Brinkman, or is it Dr. Brinkman?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll call him Mr. Brinkman, no disrespecting to him.
It's perfectly okay.
These photos, you were not present when these were taken, but you believe these show invisible terrestrial entities, correct?
Well, it shows what the invisible terrestrial entities are, the definition, namely object that we don't know what they are, that they are visible, therefore should be investigated, because they are at the top of a governmental military installation.
We asked for...
So they have to be investigated what they are. And here is the point, the lawsuit that has been filed, and you are defending foreigners, foreign people, to interfere in issue of direct national relevance. This is one of them. I want to know what they are. And they prevent to know that. Foreigners preventing us, Americans, to see what these things are. How? By a vulgar slander, vulgar defamation. This...
Dr. Santilli, we, in this case, we've requested documents from you and Thunder Energies.
This is yours?
We'll keep that here.
Yeah. Is there a reason why this report wasn't produced until today?
I forgot about it. I completely, there's so much of evidence.
Okay.
This is only one of so many in all over the world. China, right? Want one in China, then I have to have it translated. ITE in Kazakhstan, and they have to be translated. It's all over the world. The Santilli telescope is known all over the world. And we have now an observatory in 3 continents.
And you've sold 3 of them, correct?
Now, well, I do not know how many things are sold. I have to look at the account. I'm not an accountant. Yeah, those are for astrophysics laboratory.
Okay.
Astrophysics, not individual. Those were because they want to keep it permanently. They want to keep it. You want to?
No, I want to keep that with the other exhibits, so that's fine. I'm going to play another video for you, Dr. Santilli.
Sure.
I suspect you will recognize it immediately,
Sure.
but so that Annie can take down a complete record, would you let it play, please, before you comment on it?
If that's what you ask, I have no objection.
Okay, thank you very much. This is VAN 418.
Since the dawn of our civilization, all the way to the time of this breaking news, we humans believe that everything that exists up there is only what we can see with our eyes and with our optical instruments. Well, things have changed now because we have established the existence of entities existing in our terrestrial environment. And these entities are completely invisible to our eyes as well as to our optical instruments, but are fully visible with new instruments, therefore dramatically enlarging our conception of the perceivable universe with a far-reaching possibility of future development and discoveries that perhaps are beyond our imagination at this time.
The revolutionary Santilli telescope is designed to detect antimatter in deep space. By antimatter, we mean an entity with characteristics that are the exact opposite of ordinary matter, including the index of refraction of light, which is opposite. As you can see in the diagram, we have 2 telescopes, the Santilli and the Galileo. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that the only real difference between the 2 is the lens. Notice that the Galileo uses a convex lens, whereas the Santilli telescope uses a concave lens. Now, when ordinary light passes through the Galileo telescope with the convex lens, that lens focuses the light and can be recorded, or the image recorded, by a digital camera. Should antimatter light pass through the convex lens, it would merely be dispersed along the walls of the telescope and not be focused at all. Now, the exact opposite happens with the Santilli telescope. When antimatter light passes through the concave lens, it is then focused and provides an image that can be recorded by a digital camera. Ordinary light would be dispersed among the walls of the telescope.
Galileo originally conceived and constructed his telescope for discovery in deep space. But as we all know, the Galileo telescope is today used for also the terrestrial view. Our telescope had essentially the same fate because it was originally conceived for the detection of antimatter galaxies way deep into space. However, to our great surprise, we discovered that our telescope can equally detect entities in our terrestrial environment that are completely invisible to our eyes, to our binoculars, or to Galileo telescope, but they are fully visible in cameras attached to our telescope, for which reason we call them invisible terrestrial entities, ITE. We have detected at least 2 types of ITE. The first type, also called dark ITE, essentially consists of entities leaving a dark image in the background of digital cameras attached to our new telescope. And the second type, called bright ITE, essentially consists of entities leaving this time a bright image in the background of digital camera attached to our telescope, often visible without any enlargement. Our discoveries of invisible terrestrial entities has been independently verified by American astronomers Also, according to the
That's what I quoted before.
the internet. I'm a scientist, formerly from MIT, Harvard, and other leading institutions around the world. As such, my duty is that. So every release goes first through the attorney and then through the board of directors. But I see no headings. You see, I cannot. I'm sorry, I cannot accept this because there is no heading.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, this is the way we obtained it. Let me ask you some questions.
Without
about
the heading and the identification where it has been published, there may be something construed here in the. Sorry, this is rejected.
All right, well,
I
I'm going to
cannot-
ask you some questions about it anyway.
You question on a document I cannot testify as being the original without the identification of where it was releases according to public. I do not know whether you know or not. Public releases of a publicly traded company have to be published by fully identified conduits.
Dr.
In
Santilli,
our
let me...
case, then in this case can be recognized. This is just a piece of paper. I want to be on record that it could be true, but I don't have the time to read it all, check word by word, because Mr. Lake would have changed some of the words inside to trick us.
I can assure you I did not change any words.
But
I would like to ask you a question.
Since you avoid, carefully avoid the reason, in your question, the reason why we are at lawsuit, you go to time, you mix criticism, because I object to technical criticism why we are in lawsuit because of the slanders, defamation, the horrendous words that I cannot even repeat.
What we'll do is we'll make an objection that the document may not be authentic.
No, I do not accept the document.
I understand, and then Dr. Santilli, what we've done is we've put an objection on the record that the document may not be authentic, but then Mr. Lake can still ask you questions about it, but its authenticity is still in question, okay?
Right.
So if he wants to ask you questions about it, he can still do that, but there may be an objection later that it is not an authentic document.
I would like to clarify that if you produce the document with the actual conduit, you know, usually it's this NASDAQ, we release our, with the NASDAQ, then yes, I will accept it. I will accept it as a, because
Right, so we're not necessarily...
So why you should produce the real document, not the fake, not some...
He doesn't necessarily have that, but right now, he's just producing this document. There has been no
But I would like to
authentication.
object again any question on the documents that I don't know that it is authentic.
We've made that objection.
Okay.
But then I want to object on the question.
Okay.
Dr. Santilli, let me ask you a question separate from the document, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. As of June 2017, were Santilli telescopes in production and sale?
They've never been in production and sale, unless they have been. The production has been organized,
Okay. You have sold 3, though, correct?
but those are to astrophysics laboratory, not to individual. We have hundreds and hundreds of requests all over the world to individual, and then none of them has been sold. So the production is organized, but the sale no, because it is an R&D project. It's a pure, at this stage, it's a pure R&D project.
Okay.
As stated everywhere in all language, but twisted by the defendant and carefully. If you do the twisting on your own, independently from the defendant, because you become an associate, and you are not no longer an attorney representing the defendant.
So a Santilli telescope has never been offered for sale on Amazon?
Object to the form.
Yes, but as a test, as a marketing test.
Okay.
And none of them has been sold through the Amazon. None of them. We got orders, but we did not sell. We did not make the sale.
Okay. Let me show you a document I'm marking V96 and ask you about that. And I'll give a copy to Mr. Parrish as well.
Yes, this is the Amazon.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is Amazon. Yes,
We just said that.
we did it as it is done routinely routinely as a test purpose. And I also know the comments. Yes,
Okay.
indeed.
When we printed this this document, it said that, and so this copy says that the twin surveillance telescopes Galileo and Santilli telescope 70mm system is currently unavailable, and we don't know when or if this item will be back in stock. So you were not actually selling the telescope, you were just listing it, or why was it currently unavailable?
You have to ask our marketing people. I'm not qualified to answer. I can tell you, however, this is an R&D project. Since there are investors who are interested in investing funds in the production and sale, so they wanted to do a marketing analysis, so to see the reaction by the people. And that's what this was done, but there was no sale that I know that was accepted. There were orders, yes,
Okay,
but no sale was accepted.
what was done when orders were submitted?
We'll say the truth, that we have an R&D that as soon as I think there is a long list of prospective buyers, not in me, in my computer, but in the sales people, that as soon as approved for regular sales to the American people, it's a question of numbers. You have to produce at least 2,000 or 3,000 to get the price in reason. The prototype cost $500,000 from my salary alone.
Okay.
And that's what you are on record for the fraud. You claim that Thunder Energy, personally claim, Thunder Energy committed fraud in selling a telescope that they're not, because you accepted the notice from that lady from the University of South Florida. You are personally explored because you accepted that.
Do you know
something so clearly false?
Do you know what price was listed on Amazon at any time?
I don't remember. It's irrelevant. It was whatever the price was, a fraction of the cost for prototype.
Okay.
Just my salary alone, we're talking about $60,000, $70,000 per telescope.
You mentioned when we handed you the exhibit that you were familiar with the reviews.
Yes, I am. We solicit criticism because that's what we needed. We
Okay.
need the criticism precisely as part of the process. Yes.
And one of the
Those are very welcome.
one of the reviewers said,
I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. Shall I slow down?
Okay. One of the reviewers says there is no scientific merit to this device at all. It is worthless. Do you see that? It's on the
This
fifth
is
page.
his opinion.
That's his opinion. Okay.
It doesn't say that I'm fraud, that I'm a pyramid scheme. It doesn't say that I'm stupid. So I don't see the connection. There is no connection whatsoever with the lawsuit so far. Attorney Lake, you have not touched the lawsuit at this moment. The slander, defamation for 7 years, appearing second in line under this in the internet. You have not touched even remotely the reason, the lawsuit. You are damaging yourself, Attorney Lake. It's my opinion.
Can we take a break for just a
Sure.
second?
Sure.
We are back on the record. Go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Santilli, I'm going to ask you a little about the document requests we sent in this case. Were you involved in gathering documents that we've requested?
I do not understand the question.
Okay.
Could you please elaborate?
Sure. As part of the litigation, and before we get to the document, as part of the litigation process, parties are entitled to ask one another for documents. And Mr. Parrish's office provided us a number of documents. And I just wondered if you were involved in the process of gathering any documents.
Yes, of course.
Okay. And tell me what you personally did in that regard.
It's been, the list will be too long. I don't remember all of them.
Just generally, did you look on your computer? Did you look in paper files? What did you do?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay. Let me ask you about the Santilli telescope in particular, because one of our requests was for a Santilli telescope, and none was provided. Do you know why?
Yes, of course.
Okay, why was the Santilli telescope
Because
not provided?
their operation is very difficult, and so therefore, by a formal decision of the board of directors, this is one of the reasons the telescope are not for sale to the public, because the recipient have to be a professional astronomer or astrophysicist. And you did not provide any. I had a request that if there is indeed a professional astronomer who understands a totally new telescope and is capable to operate, and then we would have done. But that's only part of it. To operate properly our telescope, the expert has to be an expert in cameras, because the only thing that we've seen in our telescope is through the digital display of a camera. So it has to be an expert in operating the camera, not during the day, at night. So in the absence of such an expert, would have been too much of a fake process that I can follow. So
Okay.
as CEO, I vetoed, I denied, but the offer, if you produce an expert that meets those qualifications, yes, of course we will be available.
Okay. All right, the discovery period in this case ends Thursday. Will you make a Santilli telescope available to us?
Thursday, what do you mean, tomorrow, today?
Yeah, no, it's not available, not possible.
Not overnight, it's not possible. But in any case, you have to produce an expert in telescope. It has to be an expert in the new isodual optics.
Okay.
And only few scientists are expert worldwide. The
Okay.
isodual optics and expert in camera. You don't have such an expert.
Okay. Let me ask you about the document request then. And let's start with paragraph 3. And I'll read you what I have, but Mr. Parrish has a copy. You're welcome to look.
Go ahead.
We asked for, in paragraph 3, any and all disclosures to statements. I'm sorry. Let me start again. We asked in paragraph 3 for any and all disclosures or statements to shareholders by MagnaGas Corporation or Thunder Energies regarding the articles attached to the second amended complaint. And the response was none in plaintiff's possession, custody, or control. My question is simply, are you aware of any, whether they're in your possession or not, are you aware of any disclosures or statements to shareholders by MagnaGas or Thunder regarding Mr. Van Erp's articles?
The only thing I can tell you that all stockholders of, not all, but certainly the primary stockholders of both companies are fully aware that everything done by Israel, because it's the primary responsible in Dutch language, then by Van Erp, translated in English, Italian, etc., as well as of your actions.
Okay. So, and you are a shareholder, correct?
I am also a shareholder of both companies.
Of both
yes.
companies. So you've received the disclosures you're talking about?
No, those are individual stockholders that have gone through and then they passed their findings through the internet, to my knowledge.
Okay. A similar question in paragraph 4. Any and all reports to directors of MagnaGas Corporation or Thunder Energies regarding the articles attached to the second amended complaint. And your response was none in plaintiff's possession, custody, and control. Are you aware of any reports to directors of the companies regarding
Yes, I'm aware.
Van Erp's articles?
I'm also, yes. Sorry.
Please let Annie get the question.
I apologize, this was my mistake.
What?
Yes, and I have also the capacity of chairman of the board of the Thunder Energy, of a publicly traded company, Thunder Energy Corporation. I prohibited the discussion at the meetings of anything pertaining to the slander and defamation by Israel and Van Erp, for a very simple reason that the company had to decide not to file lawsuit at this moment, for a very simple another reason, that those are the Israel and Van Erp are just little guys. The originators of this organized scientific crime is in the United States of America. Is by the people who are paying you.
Just for the record, are you asking these questions in his capacity as the CEO of Thunder Energies? Because the problem that we're having is that these requests are about MagnaGas and Thunder Energies Corporation, and so I'm trying to figure out what. Are you asking him just as in his capacity as Thunder Energies, or are you asking him as just his knowledge of whether or not there was a disclosure to either one of these corporations?
Intentionally not said so. Intentionally.
Well, so we're clarifying.
These are requests to him individually. I'm asking what he's aware of individually.
Individually, not in his capacity as...
No.
Okay.
We have the Thunder Energies deposition that I hope we will move to at some point, and then I may have some specific questions about Thunder. But now I'd just like to know what Dr. Santilli is personally aware of.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing here. Okay. So tell me some more about the, and maybe I misunderstood your answer. I thought you indicated there are no reports to directors that you're aware of regarding Mr. Van Erp's articles.
I repeat, as chairman of the board, I requested and I got approval that the slander and defamation by Van Erp should not be discussed because the company had to decide at this moment not to sue.
Okay, so there are no reports.
None.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to
I can
make sure.
testify personally under my responsibility. There is no report in the minutes
Okay.
of the board of directors. They're a public
me-
company anyhow. You can verify this independently.
Thank you, Dr. Santilli. You've answered the question. Let me ask you about number 5. Any and all news releases, statements, retraction demands, or responses by Magna Gas Corporation or Thunder Energies Corporation regarding the articles. And your response was none in plaintiff's possession, custody, and control. Are you aware of any news releases, statements, retraction demands, or responses by either of those companies regarding Mr. Van Herp's articles?
If you assume that there is nothing in the official record of Thunder Energy Magna Gas, I do not know because I left Magna Gas in 2012.
Okay. You're not aware of any. That's
So
fine.
I'm Magna
You've
Gas.
answered my
But
question.
in the Thunder Energy, there is no at this moment, no official, no record. Otherwise, I should have disclosed it
Okay.
because we are a public company.
Okay. And with regard to paragraph, skip over to 21. We asked there for any and all product reviews, evaluations. I'm sorry, did I not give you a copy, Joe?
No, this is, well, no, you didn't. but,
Okay, yeah, I'm
this is
sorry.
the original copy, and I think he's relying on you reading it, and then if it's
Okay.
inaccurate, then I will let him know.
Okay, well, I do have another, so I've now
Okay.
handed that to you.
All right.
And that's not a work copy that I marked on and gave you by mistake.
This is the actual exhibit.
Good. Okay, we're in the right place then. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about paragraph 21, and I'll read it to you. Any and all product reviews, evaluations, complaints, or correspondence from purchasers or reviewers concerning the Santilli telescope. And then we specified that Santilli telescope means the one in the video we saw a moment ago. And the response was you objected to this request as irrelevant, and you say the request would not lead to the discovery of admissible evidence. Are you aware of any product reviews, evaluations, complaints, or correspondence from purchasers or reviewers concerning the Santilli telescope?
Everything that is, we are a publicly traded company, so everything that it's available to the public. I would recommend you to go to on the thunder-energy.com and then click on the news. You'll see hundreds and hundreds of releases and reports there.
Okay.
So you'll have, including complaints, everything. We are a American public company.
Okay.
Everything is in the open.
I understand
We
that.
hide nothing.
I understand that, and
Let's move forward, Attorney Lee.
let me ask you, though, specifically what you are aware of. I understand that documents are available.
There are so many through 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
It's an insidious question I do not want to answer.
Well, let me ask it anyway, and if you refuse to answer, then the
If it
court
is
reporter
not
will take that
specific,
down.
something among hundreds of documents, you are asking me to answer. This is a very insidious. I need protection, Attorney Parrish, because this is where I get nervous, because these are not questions should be asked during a trial in the federal court. This is my opinion.
Let me ask the question, and obviously, if Mr. Parrish
You have
has
to
an
be
objection,
specific.
he may do so.
You have to be specific.
I'm going to be as specific as I can. Are you aware of any product reviews, evaluations, complaints, or correspondence from purchasers or reviewers concerning the Santilli telescope?
And my question, my answer is exactly the same as before. Yes, but there are many. There are many of them. It's a public company with an intense activity, and they are all, if they are not, they are all presented on the news. You will see hundreds and hundreds of. It's available. You have to scan them. I have no intention of doing the job for you.
Joe, I believe those are relevant to the case, and the objection here says they're irrelevant. I disagree. Will you agree to produce the documents Dr. Santilli's just described?
I don't understand.
Well, I have a comment because they are totally irrelevant to the reason, to the lawsuit, which is the slander and defamation. So there is no connection whatsoever with the slander and defamation. None.
think it's this 21?
21, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stand by the objection in the request for production with regards to producing documents associated with this third request for production of documents from Pepijn van Erp.
And you're talking specifically about paragraph 21?
Yes, just 21 at
Okay.
this point.
Can you articulate for me the basis for the relevance objection?
We're claiming that the reviews and the evaluation of complaints of the telescope itself is not relevant, especially since they may have been reviewed by non-scientists and people that have no technical ability to actually review the technical aspects of the telescope. And especially since at this point in time, anyone that would have provided a review would have not even received the telescope since it was not for sale to the public.
It's completely irrelevant, not related to the lawsuit, none, no connection. No rational connection.
Well, I disagree, but we can deal with that in another forum.
Ed,
Let's move on to paragraph 22. Actually, I'm sorry. Paragraph 22, there was an objection, but I believe documents were later produced, so we don't need to discuss 22. Paragraph 23 is the one that asked for a complete working and operational Santilli telescope with operating manual or instructions, if any. And Dr. Santilli, you've already explained why a telescope wasn't provided. But let me ask you with regard to documents. Does an operating manual or instructions exist?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Why would that not be sufficient to enable someone trained in astronomy to operate the telescope?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Sure. You had stated earlier that the telescope was not provided to us because
We did not have an expert eyewitness.
Exactly, that was your explanation. And so my question is, with an operating manual or instructions, why would a trained astronomer not be able to operate the Santilli telescope?
Yes, oh yes, of course, with the trained professional astronomer who has a long experience with and our manual, yes, he would have been able to yes.
And in response to this request, again, the objection was relevance. Joe, I take it what you've just told us about 21 would apply to this request as well, that you believe the telescope and the operating manual or instructions are irrelevant?
Well, I have my own answer on this question.
Let me get Mr. Parrish to respond, and then certainly you can chime in.
Well, at this point in time, I don't feel comfortable answering anything until I've had a chance to talk to my client about what his views are with regards to this objection. Obviously, this was partially objected to as instructed by my client, so I would need time to discuss the objection with my client outside of the record and with attorney-client privilege attached, and then be able to formulate whether or not we would remove the objection.
Okay, thank you.
I have comments, however, and the comment is this, namely that when we ask, we have our own interrogatory to Van Erp, some of the most important question, production of document, he responded too cumbersome to collect such and such document, too cumbersome. And since you accepted that answer, I want to use exactly the same answer, because we are in the United States of America, we are in a democracy.
Okay, let me ask you about one final paragraph on these requests, and then we'll move on. Number 20.
All this is not much relevant to the lawsuit, but keep going, please.
With regard to number 24, we asked for any and all articles responding to, supporting, questioning, or criticizing Dr. Santilli's theories concerning antimatter, antimatter light, or invisible terrestrial entities. And the response was, plaintiff objects to this request as vague, unduly burdensome, and ambiguous. Is it unduly burdensome because of the volume of articles concerning antimatter, antimatter light, or invisible terrestrial entities?
You see,
form of the question.
Yeah, the answer to this question has to present the entirety of the documentation. Now, the entirety of the documentation implies something in the range of 10 or 15 or 20,000 pages. First of all, of pages of scientists who have worked. Many scientists have worked on our technology, on our new telescope technology in 3 continents. And then jointly with this, jointly with tens of thousands, I don't know, 15 or 20,000 pages, you have to produce very, very few. There is criticism existing in blogs only. There is no scientific paper whatsoever that has been published in referee journals against Santilli telescope. None. So therefore, we're reducing a judicial process on a highly advanced American technology opposed by foreigners via blogs, signed by illiterate, such as Van Herp, who has never finished his studies. So certainly it's cumbersome.
Okay.
And I had no intention of complying.
Let me ask you if you recognize this document. We've marked it V48. And Dr. Santilli, the new document is here, V48.
Oh, this is a document previously marked. Sorry.
Oh. No, we're just marking it now.
Oh, so we're at V98.
Oh, I'm sorry. 98. I misspoke. It's V98. Thanks, Joe.
Good. What is this document then?
Okay, so Dr. Santilli, it looks like this is a list of scientific publications by Jerzy Kadasvili, born January 9th, 1960.
Yes.
It says died January 16th, 2014. So it looks like this is a list of his scientific...
Some of his papers, yeah.
So,
yes,
okay.
I remember this. I remember this document, yes.
Okay, and since you remembered, it may not matter, but for the record, I'll tell you we obtained this from the IBR.org website.
Yes, it's public knowledge anyhow.
You're
You search on the Kadasvili, you'll get it.
okay.
I'm sorry, search on it.
You search under the name of Kadasvili, the spelling is here. Jerzy Kadasvili. It's from Georgia, former USSR.
Dr. Santilli, if we look down the list of publications, it appears that many of his publications, in fact, 2 on the first page, actually 3 on the first page, and then a number on other pages include your name in the title. Dr. Santilli is referenced.
I have many articles with my name in the title. Many, all over hundreds and hundreds.
My question, though, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
My question is do you know of any other scientist who has written so many articles that have included your name in the title?
Many.
Okay,
Many.
name one.
And no, a list. Now I need time. Carla, you may help me to locate the list, because we have a few lists. Only 2 out of many. Only 2 out of many.
Okay.
Just a moment. No, wait, here is one. Wait, Carla. This is one. I need 2 of them. This is the one, then the other one is at, the other one was at the organ, yes. Just a moment, yeah. I think here it is.
Yeah, this one has a lot, all of them.
Yeah, the lot. The 2 out of many. Here is I don't. This is one of the prizes, awards I receive. I receive so many. I don't even. And this is the. So all those people, all those roads, and look in the presence of the. Here is those all those distinguished scientists. They give a prize to a stupid person. Me.
Dr. Santilli, I think the question was about only those authors that are using you as a reference in their articles.
Yes, but I have to qualify the environment in which this prize. So this is for you. I have a copy for you and a copy for you.
Okay.
This was environment. Because he has asked me the other people.
Okay.
So that's I had to answer specifically his question. I have 2 of many, not to take too much time. So this I received an award. I was invited as a keynote speaker, and here is the list. This is the official program of all speakers. There were 400 or 500 speakers. And here you can see virtually not all of them, and most of them, my name is in the title. My name is in the title.
Okay.
And call it stupid and pyramid scheme, fraud, called by Mr. Lake.
Okay. Let me let you keep those for right
no,
now.
No, I have two. One, you don't want it?
Well, we want it marked, but I don't want to take your original.
No, I have two of them. One
Okay.
for Attorney Parish, one for you.
Okay.
Then another one out of...
Wait a minute, Dr. Santilli, let us get the record straight here before you pull out anything else. Let me just look, may I look at this for a moment?
Of course.
Thank you.
Look at the country of origination, 3 continents
Okay.
of scientists putting my name in the title.
Okay. I will certainly look through this, but again, let me ask Annie to read back the last question.
Yes, I am answering the question. I have a second answer.
Okay. Just a moment, please. Let's let Annie read it back.
May I know what she's trying to...
She can't take anything down while she's looking this up.
Dr. Santilli, this off the record. Can we do that just real quickly?
Off the record.
That's fine.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I request to complete the answer.
We're back on the record.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Okay, Dr. Santilli,
I request to
Dr.
complete the
Santilli.
answer. I request to complete the answer. If you have a question whether other scientists had my name in the title, I request, insist to complete the answer. Because now,
That's
here is
not my question.
another, I am speaking. Yes, that was the question. Then this is another scientific meeting in China, on which with 3 Nobel laureates in the committee. And I was a keynote invited speaker, and in the presence of the top representative of the Communist Party, I received a very prestigious Frey International Scientific Awards, and this is documentation, and this is the slander by those guys, indicating this meeting was. Can you read what, please? This has to be read. Otherwise, this deposition becomes a farce. Becomes a pure farce.
Dr. Santilli, if it gets listed as an exhibit, then it will be on the record.
And I wanted to be read so that she can type it. Sorry, and I wanted, since interview, I want my words to be recorded. I'm sorry, Attorney Parish.
Okay.
Because again, we serve their interests and not the interests of justice. In any case, the associate, Mr. Lake associate, they claim that this was a slang. What did they say, Carla?
No, you remember.
Dr. Santilli, we can't have
in
other
any
people.
case, okay. And this was a list of some of the papers presented in this international committee, with 400 or 500 participants, the presence of some of the top scientists all over the world. Most of them carry my name in the title. So therefore, for Professor Kaidishvili not to put my title in my theory that he treated in article would have been very unethical, very unethical. So the idea of twisting this into, because the intent is to twist, Professor Kaidishvili put the name article, so there is a mumbo jumbo. There is no mumbo jumbo. It's serious science. This is the end of my answer. I reserve additional questions, Attorney Parish, to be asked later.
Annie, are you able to read back the last question? Okay. Dr. Santilli, Annie's going to read back my question.
Thank
please.
you.
My question is, do you know of any other scientists who have written so many articles, that have included your name in the title?
Exactly. That is exactly what I provide.
Dr.
I understood
Santilli,
the question very well.
Okay, well, let me ask a different question then. I don't believe you've answered it. Let me ask this one. Other than Dr. Kadiashvili, please give me the name of one scientist who has written so many articles that include your name in the title, if you are able to do so.
What do you mean, so many articles? 3 or 4 articles.
Well, let's take a look at V98.
He has worked in my theories. So his article, so he develops my theory, and my name has to be, ethically has to be on the title. Anyhow, you want the name, let me tell you the name of people who put written monographs with my name in the title. Not articles, monographs. You see, here is one. 2 professor of mathematics at Sorbonne University, full professor, in which you see my name, this is in Spanish, so you see my name in the title. Another thing is Professor Yang Suk Swan, a famous mathematician from China, written a book, this thick, Santilli isodual theory. Professor Yannousis Aringazin from Greece, Aringazin from Kazakhstan, and so many other wrote an article, Santilli isotopic generalization of Galilei relativity. There are thousands of papers carrying my name in the title. I know that this bothers the defendants, but
Dr. Santilli, thank you. You've pointed out a number of articles and books that mention your name, and I appreciate that. My question, though, relates to the name of a single scientist who has used your name in so many titles.
I have many on this. Professor Yannousis.
I'm sorry, say the name again?
Professor Asterios Yannousis, full professor of physics, University of Patras. He maybe have written 20, 30, or 50, multiple of those, with Santilli admissible theory. Professor Grigorio Tsagas, very famous mathematician, he has organized a chain of lectures entirely devoted to Santilli isomathematics. My name was in each and every paper, because the mathematics at the Congress was my mathematics, etc., etc., etc.
Let me ask you now about a few other documents. I'm not going to go into them in great detail, but I would like to mark them as exhibits and just see if you recognize them. Okay?
These 2 exhibits.
Hold on just a second.
Those are, no,
Yeah, I don't want to get them mixed up.
I want to remove
There we
them.
go.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay.
Are you looking for these?
No, I'll introduce these later. So these can be done. No, I've got them.
Dr. Santilli, the next document we marked V99, I believe is an article by you titled A New Gaseous and Combustible Form of Water. Is that an article you wrote?
Yes, indeed, I did.
Okay.
The galleys, however, were not corrected, so it's full of garbling, because the publisher converted a TEX, was called TEX, T-E-X, converted a TEX manuscript, T-E-X, into Word format. And in this conversion, there is all sorts of garbling. But it is my article.
Okay.
With those corrections that they were never made, it is my article.
Okay. And I believe there was a commentary, comments were written on your article by a professor named J.M. Callow, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is this a copy, we've marked it V100, of Professor Callow's comments?
Yes.
Okay.
However, I want to, Tony Parrish, I need to, this has to be clarified, because I'm sure Mr. Lake will only present this criticism, but it will not present the other criticism published in the counter-criticism published in the same journal. In any case, this criticism is respectful. So I have not sued Mr. Callow, because he can have his opinion. Okay. So I see no problem to suing him because he criticized me. None. Okay. He doesn't say that slander, defamation. No, this is ordinary science. So I don't see the connection with the lawsuit.
Let me ask you about a document that's been marked V101 and see if you recognize that as a response from J.V. Kadiashvili to the Professor Callow.
There were 5 of them. There were there were five attacks of Mr. Callow, and Attorney Parrish, I need to elaborate. I request later to elaborate, because Mr. Lake will not allow me to elaborate what's going on behind the scene on this.
Dr. Santilli,
I answer your question directly, please. Go ahead.
Please do. Is V101 that we've just handed you a rebuttal of J.M. Callow's comments?
I repeat, yes, one of many.
One of many, okay. And if you would look at that, the byline I guess we could call it, or the author's name is J.V. Kadiashvili, correct?
Yes, it's written
Okay.
here, yes.
And the address for Professor Kadiashvili is the Institute for Basic Research in Palm Harbor, correct?
It is one of the scientific address. I never met Kadiashvili from the former, Professor Kadiashvili from the former Georgia. His land was devastated by the war, so I never met him. Apparently, he had serious birth certificate. I made this eulogy in a lecture in Madrid at an international congress in which he was invited to. He was invited to speak, but he died before that, and so I was asked to deliver the lecture on his behavior and make his eulogy, which I made.
How did he happen to become affiliated with the Institute?
The Institute that's precisely the function of the Institute, to give affiliation to qualified, innovative scientists all over the world with no limitation in. I'm sorry, I have to this get tangled up. Let me repeat the statement.
Sure.
The Institute for Basic Research essentially provides a scientific house to scientists all over the world. There are hundreds of scientists that they have used in the past and continue to use the Institute for Basic Research as their scientific affiliation. But doesn't mean we have never had the money to have a house or a building, so or to support the travel, to be physically. No, it's just an affiliation and just a name.
Okay. And how did Professor Kadiashvili in particular become affiliated with the Institute?
Yes, I can tell you that. We were in Dubna. I was invited by the Joint Institute of Nuclear Research. It is the institute where the Russians produced their nuclear bombs. Following the collapse of the communists, they invited me to deliver a lecture there on my studies. At that moment, there was a great collaboration between America and USA. I requested Attorney Parish to elaborate this separately. But Professor Sissakian, deputy director of the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research, one of the big scientific power in Russia at that time, he spoke to me about. I told him I was looking for somebody to continue my research, and he mentioned Professor Kadiashvili. He gave me the fax. At that time, we corresponded by fax, and he gave me the fax. This it was in the mid 1990, early. I don't remember the year. And I contacted him, and he asked me why you want to collaborate. I gave him some of my paper. He got immediately excited. He said, I want to dedicate the rest of my life to your, you call them new sciences for a new era.
Okay. I know you've already told us you never met him in person.
No.
Did you ever speak to him by telephone?
No. Apparently he had even, he had severe birth defect. And that's why he was self-made. He reached the topest knowledge, extremely advanced mathematical knowledge beyond me.
And I'm sorry, you may have said this, but what country did he live in, to your knowledge?
He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia.
Georgia, not Georgia, America, but Georgia, former USSR. His house, his family was devastated. It was an enormous, when the USSR collapsed, then there was a war because Georgia, the Russians considered the Georgians as real Russians. So then Georgia instead wants to separate from Russia. So there was an extremely devastating war with unbelievable atrocity, and all this happening between the incredible war, gas, and.
Let me ask you about the email address at the bottom of V101.
Just read it for me.
Sure, I will. Yes. I just wanted to make sure Mr. Parrish is with us. Joe, I'm going to ask Professor Santilli or Dr. Santilli about the email address at the bottom of V101.
Mr. Lake,
Okay.
this is my title, Sir.
Sir, very good.
But you don't have to use it. There is no need to. But this is my real title, Sir Santilli.
Is the email address on Professor Kadiashvili's article Luca54321 at verizon.net?
And I'm sorry, where on the document?
This is
are
at
we
the,
looking?
sure, the bottom of the first column.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. I didn't know.
Did you ever correspond with Professor Kadiashvili by email?
Oh yes, I did. Oh yes, because when the email came, yes.
Why
And he
did-
corresponded with many other people. Yeah.
If you know, why did he have a Verizon.net email address?
Well, because the reason being, there are several reasons. They selected their own, which is the address that the email that he selected.
But where is the?
I need to know.
I don't know. All I see right now, Dr. Santilli, is just it says email address right here. It
And what
doesn't.
is the email address?
All it says right here is email address. It doesn't say who it's from or who it's to.
And the address is, just so the record's clear, the address is luca54321 at verizon.net.
So this is like.
Yeah, yeah. So what?
So my question is, if you know, and if you don't know, that's fine, why it is that Professor Kadiashvili had a verizon.net email address?
Because this is when the internet. I'm not familiar. I didn't even know about this. When the internet came, you know, Russian can have an American can have an email with a Russian. No, I don't understand your question has no connection whatsoever. What we are talking about the lawsuit. No.
Okay.
Please.
Do you know if-
Let's go to the substance of the lawsuit.
We talked a couple days ago.
Incidentally, I suspect that Professor Kadiashvili was in touch with. I suspect that this is the email of Luca Petronio,
Okay.
and not of Kadiashvili. This is my suspicion. And because the reason being that that's his way of. Because this this attack by Mr. Carlo was very unethical, and he was a very ethical person. Was one of the founders of the International Committee of Scientific Ethics. And that is why, am I moving too fast? That's why he elected to have so that the International Committee of Scientific Ethics will receive any comment pertaining to this article. I think it was done intentionally by Professor Kadiashvili.
Okay.
And then, of course, Luca Petronio will report to him everything.
And Luca Petronio being the group name or the pseudonym used by the committee, correct?
It is was the pseudonym used by the International Committee for Scientific Ethics.
Okay, thank you.
Now, for the record, regarding the outgoing mail, the International Committee for Scientific Ethics operates on the VPN systems. It is a very advanced electronic system for the outgoing. For the incoming mail, instead, it operates on the SEE system, very advanced system, and this ISP, the ISP is basically when in this case it was the horizon. All emails. Attorney Parish, this is something for you. Yesterday there was an email presented with strange IP, and even with strange. Some of them were addressed to you. Please note that all the IP of all emails are IPs of the server. So all our, for instance, electronic press has the pair NIC as server.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? All the.
Thank you. So all emails carry the IP of the server. The server is the provider. And none of them, no emails identifies the actual IP of the location of where the computer is located. So, for instance, Attorney Parish, if you had the pair as a server, as a provider, our IP will be identical to your IP, even though you are in Tampa and we are in. So the IP of this was another very misleading query request by Mr. Lake to Carla that I intend to object after you ask me a more technical question, because this will be very easy disappointed. The question you asked in front of the jury when we have IP company testifying about this thing will be extremely advantageous to us. Thank you. What you showed at composite to Carla was very, very to our advantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santilli. The videographer has indicated he needs to change recordings, or change, for lack of a better word, tapes, cards, I guess. So let's go off the record while he does that.
Thank you for the stop.